Hey guys, Deathy here. Today, I wanted to touch on movement. A lot of people have asked me for movement guides, but I feel that there are a few movement guides out there that already cover a lot of the basics. So I wanted to make content that was around advanced movement tech for each specific hero. Some heroes don't have a lot of advanced movement tech available to them, or specific things, or things I've already covered, so not every hero will be in this video, but most of them will. I'll cover things like certain abilities, animation canceling, item combos with certain heroes, and things like that. Let me know if you enjoy this type of content, and as always, like and subscribe. Let's get started. Starting off with Abrams. Abrams has a decent amount of goofy things he can do, a lot of them being animation cancels or glitches. I do want to say that it's very possible that some of these things are not intended and do get patched out in the future, so keep in mind. I'll try to keep you guys updated in the comments if that does happen. The first thing I want to show off is animation canceling with your heavy melee. A normal heavy melee looks like this. However, if you animation cancel it using your siphon life, it actually looks completely different. So let me do that again for you guys. Heavy melee, siphon life. As you can see, I don't have the cooldown towards the end that stops me. With a regular heavy melee, this doesn't really help you out too much. However, if you get melee charge, you can do something like this, which gives you a good amount of length. Unfortunately, this does consume your siphon life, so it's very situational, but if you're ever in a situation where you need to escape as Abrams, this could be a good tech to know. You can do this type of cancellation a few other ways. I'm sure that more ways will be discovered in the future. At the moment, Fleetfoot is another way to cancel this. So if you do the same thing, but then you press Fleetfoot, as you can see, it cancels the animation as well. Abrams' ultimate ability also has some very weird interaction with these types of windows and walls. If you ultimate and hit it on the right angle, you can glide for an extremely long time. Here's what that looks like.
This is the end.
In most situations, this is not going to be very useful, but it might be good to know. Keep in mind that this most likely is not intended and will probably be patched at some point. Bebop can cancel his ult in order to float in the air indefinitely. Here's what that looks like. I do not think this tech is that useful, but I wanted to show you guys. It can, however, be used to bait enemies into running away from you because they think you're going to ultimate. Great Talon can cancel his flight to use it as an escape. Here's what that looks like.
Time for evasive tactics.
It gives you a decent bit of momentum and can be very helpful in certain situations. Ivy has always had a bunch of weird stuff with her stone form, but right now there's an animation cancel that you can do with her ultimate as well as stone form. You have to cast the ultimate first and then stone form, and once you're out of the stone form, you'll already be in the flying animation. Here's what that looks like.
I got you.
This is incredibly powerful as it allows you to cast your ultimate without the penalty of having to stand still in your animation for a little bit. Kelvin has a few movement options, but one thing that I want to show off is how you can use Ice Path to block certain objectives. For example, if you're in mid-boss, you can make a spiraling ice path to make it harder for the enemies to descend from above. Here's what that looks like. As you can see, this kind of shape can make it very hard for enemies to descend through mid-boss. Lash grapple resets the amount of air dashes or air jumps he has used. So you can use grapple, double jump in the air, use grapple again, repeat. Here's what that looks like.
Try to run. Let's go.
This is even more useful when you have superior stamina and you have 2 air jumps as well as 2 air dashes. You can basically fly. Mo and Krill Burrow has a bunch of weird interactions with certain items, but I think the funniest one is Magic Carpet. Here's what it looks like. As you can see, you become some sort of flying M&M who can just attack enemies and unburrow at any time. Shiv's right click, his shotgun, has a lot of uses for different types of movement. The first and most obvious use is to use it to gain vertical height. For example, if you jump and shoot straight underneath you, you gain a little bit of vertical height, which makes it so that jumps that took you 1 stamina to achieve before can now be done with a regular jump and a right click. You can also use Shiv's right click while you're sliding to gain some momentum. However, you need to have an initial amount of momentum that is enough while you're sliding, otherwise it won't work. For example, if you just do 1 dash, crouch, and then right click, it doesn't work. But if you do a jump dash, like this, and then crouch, and then right click, you gain some momentum. If you have burst fire, this can actually be an infinite chain. I don't think this tech is that useful, but it's nice to know. Vindicta, similarly to Great Talon, can also cancel her flight for momentum. However, she gains a lot more momentum than Great Talon does. Here's what that looks like.
Finding higher ground.
Viscous has a ton of different movement options, and honestly, would deserve its video of its own. I'm just going to touch on the two things that I think are most important. He has his punch movement, which you can do on flat ground like this. And there's also the wall movement, which requires a wall like this. You punch, and then you dash, and you go incredibly far. One thing to note about this movement is that in order to do it, you need to punch, then dash away from the punch. So for example, if I'm punching in this direction, I need to dash in the same direction. I don't dash into the punch. Here's what it looks like. And you can also do it on the ground, and it's the same thing. You punch, and then you dash forward. However, you gain a lot less momentum. Another thing, which is probably not intended, is an interaction between cube and rescue beam. If you buy a rescue beam, you cube someone, and then you use the rescue beam on top of them, like this, you can basically float in the air with the rescue beam. This is almost certainly not intended, and I expect it to get fixed. Yamato has two advanced movement techs, one of which has largely been covered, which is the dash and then one, like this. So you dash and then you use your one right away. And the other one, which is flying stride cancel. There's two ways that you can use this. The first way is to use it as an escape. So let's say that you want to escape, you use flying strike, you cancel it, and then you air dash. As you can see, you gained a lot more distance. The second way is to get a punch off. So if you cancel it right before hitting the target, you can then get a punch off. Usually this isn't necessarily better than the damage you get from flying strike, but if you want a reliable way to apply spirit strike, it can still be good. That's it, guys. If you guys know any other movement tech that I didn't include in this video, feel free to comment it below, and maybe I'll make a part 2 if there's enough that I missed. I don't think that this is a comprehensive list. This is just all the ones that I'm aware of at the current moment. Every week, new technology is being discovered. The game is still pretty new. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.